Hey guys, this is miicrow. I wanted to go in depth a little bit more with this invigorated punishment change. This fixed an issue that caused invigorated punishment to apply on basic attacks instead of just abilities is kind of understated by the devs. What this actually in the code is basically they changed this to work off the ability attack type. It turns out they pulled a new world, as we would like to call it, and not everything has this attack type of ability. I got this basically a spreadsheet of every single, like what every single ability type is in the game. And there's a lot of things here that you would think would be abilities, but turned out not to be abilities. So if I search for Pillar of Fire on here, Pillar of Fire is attack type magic. It's not attack type ability, even though it is an ability. So even though it is an ability, it's not the attack type magic, so it's not going to be affected by invigorated punishment anymore. So basically, there's a lot of situations with things that you would think naturally would scale off of invigorated punishment that will not be scaling off of invigorated punishment because they're not coded as actual abilities themselves. They're coded as a different thing. If you actually want to look to see how these codes are, I can put a link to this in the description. There's a New World Calculator 9.0. They have a bunch of like kind of really interesting stuff in here. You can make a copy of this and then you can unhide uh, the actual what do you call them? The actual hidden spreadsheets on here. And if you go to damage table, I just turned this into a format so I can filter it basically. But I can now check what every single ability is like under the hood, and I can tell you exactly what abilities are actually going to be boosted by invigorated punishment. And then, but I want to first go over kind of what this means in total. So it basically means that fire staff, if you run invigorated punishment, you're not really going to get value out of that anymore. If you are running something like a blunderbuss, you're not going to get a lot of value out of invigorated punishment because it's not going to be working off your autos, and a lot of the blunderbuss damage is autos. If you're running Great Axe Warhammer and you are thinking, oh, I'm going to go for my detonate and I'm going to get a lot of value off of that, turns out there's a heart rune attack damage type, so that's not going to work either. So basically, invigorated punishment is nerfed significantly. What this also means is before, when I was going over the stuff for Fortify, I kind of showed that there was kind of like a threshold that you had to reach before Fortify got value. I'd say that threshold is insignificant now, and Fortify in general just got a really big buff because invigorated punishment will not be working off a lot of things, and I suspect people are going to start moving away to away from invigorated punishment. Invigorated punishment is still better than most other things, unless you go for like an illegal ring, and I think these rings have an argument to be better right now. The other thing is, though, is there's not any illegal rings with Hardy and two damage types. Like, you can't have a Keen Awareness, Void Damage, Hardy ring. That doesn't exist. By illegal mean ring, I mean has an illegal perk combination that normally cannot be rolled, but is still present in the wild if you farm it from a like a mob. So the two that kind of come to mind, Surgeon's Ring for Void Gauntlet and Legette's Ring for Bruiser, are the two main interesting ones. If I actually search for, if I put all these back and I search for bruiser stuff here, so if I search for like Maelstrom, if I can spell, then these are all classified as abilities, so I would still say that Invigorated Punishment is in general going to get more value for Bruiser than going for something like Legette's Ring off the bat. That being said, if you're kind of worried, then you're like, hey, Detonate is the majority of my damage, and everything else is slash damage, and maybe there is a case where you would prefer to have the slash damage depending on your build. I haven't gone through that specifically, but I want to start going through this now and telling you which things are actually abilities and which things are not abilities, which is kind of gross, but we can kind of go through it. So this is spear stuff. Spear stuff is in general classified as abilities. Stopping power is an ability. Sticky bomb is an ability. Claw shot, net shot, barb shot. So basically all the musket stuff is an ability. This one's kind of interesting. The mortar itself is an ability. We kind of knew this if I go to New World Skill Builder because every single mortar shot will apply the actual on a roll bonus. So we kind of knew that was classified as ability under the hood, but now we can kind of confirm that by looking at behind the hood at what the actual values are. Azoth Shrapnel Blast is an ability, the bomb is an ability, so all this stuff kind of makes sense. The part that starts getting a little bit weird is like when you look at the non-abilities, but I want to go through the abilities first. So some of the rapier stuff is considered to be abilities, like Tondo, Flurry, uh, Flèche, there's Flèche. Kind of going through this slowly. We have some of the hatchet range throw stuff. That's abilities. We got rapid shot. We got poison shot. Got pen shot, rain of arrows. So this is kind of expected. I'm just kind of going through this with you guys live, but it's kind of gross to parse all this, but you can kind of figure it out by looking at this, and I can leave a link to this in the description. Maybe I'll like just share a copy of this so that you guys can just look at this directly and you don't have to make a copy yourself if you want to look at it. You got whirlwind, charge, so these are abilities, so it's going to work off of those. Maelstrom it's going to work off of, and again, this all kind of comes back to data mine under the hood stuff from New World Database where they posted this, but they diffed the changes between the patch, and basically it applies off the attack type being the ability. This is the attack type column. I think it should probably be off the is ability, and they should update that. But right now it's off attack type, so it's everything in here that has the attack type ability is going to get applied to the buff with Invigorated Punishment. So you got Gravel in there, you got Gravity Burst in there, you got Clear Out. So this is like kind of all stuff that we would expect. It's just when you start getting into the magic, that's where it kind of gets weird. So Ice Storm is an ability, Ice Spike is an ability, uh, the Orb is an ability, but like there's a lot of stuff here that you can see that's missing from the magic or from that category. That's because it's a magic thing. So if I look at Heart Room and Magic Spell, all this stuff will not be classified as an ability. So a charged heavy attack from a Fire Staff, from Magic Gauntlet Fire Projectile Charge. So that's probably a Fire Staff, right? That's going to be classified as magic, and the magic is not an ability, so it's not going to work, which kind of makes sense. But Pillar of Fire is also under magic, which doesn't really make sense. It should be under ability. Fireball is under magic, which should be under ability. Meteor Shower is a magic spell because it's like a damage over time thing. That's not an ability. It's not going to get boosted by Invigorated Punishment. Incinerated is a magic spell. Flamethrower is a magic spell. So you can start to see on Fire Staff that Invigorated Punishment might actually not be very good anymore, which is very odd to say, but it's just not affecting anything that the Fire Staff naturally has. You look at something like Ice Gauntlet, Ice Pylon, that's a magic spell. Pylon Burst, that's a magic spell. And then like all the Heart Runes. So Ice Gauntlet in general seems to be okay, but Fire Staff, man, like, oh boy, you probably don't want Invigorated Punishment on Fire Staff. And every Heart Rune's not going to get affected too, right? So with the Detonate nerf where they nerfed the, they made it so that it rends you a little bit more, and they're also going to be effectively nerfing the damage because they're going to be missing out on this bonus to all of your detonates now. So that basically makes it so that Bruiser is in a little bit worse of a spot there as well. If we start playing around with this a little bit more, we looked at the Heart Rune and the magic stuff. There shouldn't be anything surprising in heavy and light. We can look at blanks too, see if they forgot anything. Okay, that's just fall damage. Yeah, no, they didn't really forget anything. It's just fine. Two-handed attack 3 spin finish. So whatever the heck that means does not classified as an ability, but it's like part of a basic attack thing, right? So that's not going to really make a difference. But yeah, guys, this is kind of alarming. Pretty big New World bug. They probably need to change this category altogether. But hey, at least they nerfed Invigorated Punishment. I've been saying for a long time Invigorated Punishment was heavily overtuned and it was kind of in need of a nerf, so I'm happy they did that. But I am not exactly sure they did it the best way possible because under the hood they have some problems with how the code is actually structured, which we could see if we data mine stuff, and that's where we see, hey, none of my Fire Staff damage is going to be affected by Invigorated Punishment, so they just nerfed Fire Staff by like, what, 0 to 16% damage in PvP? So Fire Staff is just not going to feel very good anymore, but everything else is going to look great, so let me know what you guys think, but I think this is pretty comical, and I guess for your Fire Staff main, I'm sorry, but this is the funniest nerf I've seen in a long time. And I'll see you guys in the next video.